Hi everyone, welcome to July, and this is your Human Design Transit Report for the month of July. So in these monthly reports, I give a high-level look at what is going on with the planets from a human design point of view, and then over the course of the month, I usually do more focused videos on particular aspects like the moons and sometimes other things that are happening. I'll probably do one with about Uranus moving into Gemini, which is probably the biggest news that we have this month. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to be able to express yourself and activate and manifest, maybe more than you have at other times, provided that you are grounding yourself well. So let's go ahead and dive into the particulars. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe, turn on your notifications so you find out every time I release one of these videos. Okay, let's dive in. So the big context we're in right now is we're in Cancer season. So the sun is in Cancer, moved in at the solstice, will be there through July 22nd, which is great for our world right now, given all the tumult that is happening, because Cancer is emotional, it's caring, it's about healing, it's about our home and our close relationships, our family, and so on. So it's a nice balance to what is kind of going on in the outer world that can be creating some anxiety for us. I want to mention right here at the beginning, because we have something that is happening right here at the end of June, the very beginning of July, which is interesting and auspicious, which is that, so Uranus has been in the gate 8 ever since March 26th, and is going to be there through the first part of July. And Venus joined Uranus in gate 8 on June 30th, and it's just going to be there through the 4th of July. So just for this 5-day period. So depending on when you see this, you go ahead and take advantage of this. So the gate 8 is the gate of contribution, or the gate of fulfillment. It has a lot to do with how we're showing up in the world, how are we bringing our energy and our vision and our passions out into the world, right? And Uranus has been really activating us for a while now, this few months, like I said, since March, about are we doing the things that are really bringing us alive. And remember, Uranus is god of awakening. It's sudden change, electrical, really, really powerful, right? Tends to. So here's Venus coming in, adding her voice and saying, hey, is your contribution in alignment with your values? Is it in alignment with the divine feminine? If not, take a look at it and make a change, because now you have all the energetic support you need in order to do that. And I know a lot of us are looking at what is our contribution, and are we doing what's in alignment with what's in here, not just with what we see out there. So this is a great time to be looking into that more for yourself. And there's more to say about both Uranus and Venus that I'll come back to a little bit later in this video. So in this image, I'm providing you with the gates that the sun and the earth are in during the month of July. You can go ahead and screenshot this for you if you want to. And one of the things you can do with these is just take a look and see which of these gates is already defined or colored in on your chart, and which are white or are open. And just see if any of these will be bringing new definition to your chart, right? Coloring in new aspects of your chart, potentially creating new channels, and also defining centers for you. So we've got some really powerful stuff coming in. We've got 3 different channels that are going to be activated this month, and different centers and so on. So one of the best things for you to do is to take the information that you get here and take a look at how it influences your own natal chart. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I do have a free video training called Understanding the Human Design Transits, and it'll walk you through the things to look at. It also has a little template that you can use to put the transit and your chart together, and kind of walks you through what that means. So I'll just put the link for that below. Now, in this image, I always like to provide you with a look at the human design mandala, which is similar to the wheel in astrology, but it's also different. You will be able to see the astrological signs around the outside of the mandala, but in human design, the big events are the gates, which is where the planets are showing up in those little pie marks going around around the mandala. You'll see down at the bottom here, the sun is going through these different gates during the month of July. And so these are Cancer and then also Leo gates, of course, because we move into Leo for the last 8-9 days of the month. And then at the top of the image, you'll see where the Earth is. And let's just remember that in human design, the Earth and the sun are always opposite each other on the mandala, and they go around. This is one of the things that's different than in astrology, because in astrology, you don't track the Earth the way that we do in human design. So both are important and both have different qualities. Obviously, the earth is what we ground ourselves in. The sun is what we're shining out into the world. And you can see here that all of these different gates are going to be lit up. So this is the same information that you saw on the previous slide, but just represented differently and giving you a sense of where the earth and the sun are and how they're relating to each other. So we're also getting gates in Capricorn and Aquarius lit up along with Cancer and Leo. And that's always how it is in the human design system, because like I said, they're across each other on the mandala. So you can go ahead and take a look at these too and see what might be true for you, what's lighting up for you. Then in this next image, these are all the gates that are going to be activated by the planets during the month of July. And also you can see here, there's 3 different channels, which we'll talk about a little bit. And then also four different centers that are going to be lit up over the course of the month as well. One of the things I want to draw your attention to is if you look all the way at the bottom of the chart, we had a bunch of those in Cancer and Leo that were already lit up, but now we're going to have a bunch of them that are in Taurus and Gemini that are being lit up, and most of those are in the throat center. Venus is going to be making her way through all of those, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more in a moment. And if you think the mandala is cool, I want to let you know that you can now get your own copy of your own mandala. We have gotten new software that allows you, when you go ahead and you get your human design chart, you get the regular chart that you're used to, right? But then you also get your human design mandala. And I know over the years, many people have asked me for their mandala, and it used to be that you had to have professional software in order to be able to do that. So I gave people their mandalas when they came to me for a reading, for example, but it wasn't something that I just had regularly available to you that you could just opt in for. And now you can. So this is a sample of what it'll look like. And you can just go to yourfreehumandesignchart.com and download it. And I will put I'll put the link for that down below as well. Because the mandala, I really like, I have had mine on my altar before. I've had it like in a notebook where I was looking at it often, because remember, human design is like a living system. And so it does transmit to you without you having to really like look at it and analyze it or know what all of it means or anything like that. Just gazing at the mandala can help transmit to you deeper truths about your own human design. So I encourage you to go ahead and get your version of it. So in this image, I've taken that same mandala with all of the different activated gates for the month of July. And if you take a look here, you'll see the throat is lit up. I think every single, except for one, every single gate on the throat is lit up. Only the 23 is not. And then down in the root, every single one of the gates of the root is lit up. Now, the thing is the throat's going to get defined a couple of times because it has 2 different channels over the course of the month. But the root does not. So, but you can look at, and again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can get that Understanding Human Design video and it'll walk you through it. But what you want to look for here is like all around that root center. If you have any gates that are pointing at the root center, right? Its mate is going to be lit up, and that could light up your root. If you have an open root, this would probably you're going to get your root defined. The chances are of you having one of those mates is pretty good, and then you get to see what it's like to have a defined root. And that's really helpful because a lot of times people who have an open root, they find that challenging on occasion. Let's just talk about that root center for a moment. So the root center is a pressure center. So the head is a pressure center, and the root all the way at the bottom of the spine is also a pressure center. And when people have this open or white in their charts, a lot of times they feel this pressure to keep going, pressure to keep being active, pressure to keep working. One of the truisms that we have in human design is that people have an open root. A lot of times can't have a really hard time stopping unless their to-do list is done, which we all know never happens. So you kind of just have to stop and say enough for today, right? Or enough for now. But that can be really hard for people with the open root. So for those open rooted people there, you're probably going to have an opportunity to check this out. But for all of us, we have opportunities probably to feel new different gates that are being lit up on the root. And the root is an important center. It's one of the engines in the chart. And so it is a place that radiates energy that you can use. It does have a pulse to it, which is pulsing with the magnetic field of the earth, if you will. But the root, just you can see it has 9 different gates in it. So it has a lot of different energy coming in and out of it. And so it's worth it to go and check out what those particular ones are. And the ones that are not colored in your chart are ones that you probably are going to feel more. Not always, but you're probably going to feel more. So that's a really good exercise for you to do, is to go and check that out. Then the throat, right up here, we have all of these different gates that are activated here. Like I said, all of them except for the 23, all the rest of them are going to be lit up. So the throat is really the center for activation and manifestation and expression. And so you're going to have extra energy and extra energetic support to be doing those things during the course of this month. Now, Venus is going to move through these. Uranus is there also. So, you're not going to have the whole root lit up the entire month, and the same not with the root or with the throat, but you will get to travel through them. And so it's another great exercise for you to look at, like, what is open on my throat that is going to get defined during that time. Is it going to create any new channels for me? Is it going to create any new centers for me? Or not really create them, but define them so that you feel them differently. Let's just remember the white parts of your chart you have experienced and expressed thousands and thousands of times over the course of your life, but you don't have a consistent way of experiencing them because it changes, it flows through. Whereas the parts that are colored in, you have a relatively consistent way of experiencing those. And so there is a distinction between that and the parts that are colored in, they stay with you, right? You always have that and you're always kind of radiating it out, whereas the white ones vary a lot. So this is a great exercise, though, to be looking at what is it that is maybe changing in your chart with these different transits. So as I said a minute ago, a lot of these are being lit up by Venus. So Venus is just moving through Gemini and is moving through all of these different gates over the course of this month. And they're all in the throat. So when I looked at this, I was like, wow, okay, this isn't just about those particular gates becoming defined for you. This is also about the voice of the divine feminine, the voice of our values. So in human design, we consider Venus to be our values, right? Whatever Venus is lighting up, we want to be like, okay, are we in alignment with our values about this? So that is one aspect of it. But Venus, of course, is the representative of the divine feminine, right? She is the brightest planet in the sky. She's one of the first planets to be discovered because, she has this journey with the sun, which is always so dramatic as we see, Venus coming as the evening star or the morning star. And so Venus is here to really be asking us, are you giving voice to the values of the divine feminine, right? And the values of the divine feminine: connection, cooperation, collaboration, communication that connects, caring, compassion, right? Our ability to have a world that works for all of us, where we're not pitted against one another, right? And we're not working from a hierarchy. We're looking at how are we all part of this one beautiful world, and what our relationships are, both among us as humanity, but also with our companion species, the bird kingdom, the animal kingdom, the fish and the ocean kingdom, the mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, the ancient forests that are our ancestors, right? All of it, that this is all part of what we want to be tuning into and be giving voice to. So one of the things you might just look at for yourself is, where have you not given voice to some aspect of divine feminine values that are significant for you? And how can you start bringing those out more into the world? How can you give them voice? How can you activate and manifest something in your life with that energy? Other players that are bringing so much definition to our charts over the course of this month are the nodes. So the nodes of the moon moved gates back in June 13th, and they moved into the gate 22, which is the gate of surrender, and the gate 47, which is the gate of divine transference. And so these are in the knowing circuit and in the sensing circuit, respectively. So none of this is logical, none of it's rational or strategic or any of that. And so the south node, which is in the 47, which is in the ajna, and it's where we are receiving some downloads through this right brain energy, and we'll take a look at that channel in a moment. And then the north node is in that gate 22, which is the gate of surrender, which is on the emotional solar plexus, and it is in the knowing circuit. And so it is really asking us to be able to soften into our ability to surrender to spirit. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into the particular channels and what happens with centers because of where the nodes have moved into. So in this image, I just named the different channels that are being lit up. So you can see the 47 there, right? And the 22, which is where the nodes are. And then the 7 and the 31 have to do with where the sun is and Mars. But the main thing for you to look at is just there's new definition here. You can see that the head, right? The head and the ajna are being connected by that 6437 over here. The throat is being defined by the 1222, which is going to be coming up over here on the left side of the body. And then the 31-7 is going to define the throat, and the G center coming up over here through the logic circuit. And so what you want to be able to do, again, is take your human design chart and look at where is this new definition coming in for you, and what is that going to mean for you? So, like for example, if you have a split definition and you get this new definition and all of a sudden all of your different centers are connecting with each other, that could give you a lot of more energy, just kind of feeling like the different parts of you are cooperating in a new way. Or if, like, let's say you usually have an open G and you get a defined G, while that's the sun is going to be in the 31, that's happening towards the end of the month, right? What is that like to feel a kind of consistent way of having your love and lovability, your identity and direction lit up, right? What does that feel like for you? Like for me, I have an open throat. So having the throat defined over the course of this month is great for me because, and it's not only defined, it's also motorized because that 1222 is coming from the emotional solar plexus to the throat. So that's manifesting energy, activating energy, expressive energy, right? So, and it's in the knowing circuit. So it's bringing us the ability to be able to express those downloads that we get from superconsciousness through the knowing circuit. And that's great for me because, of course, I'm teaching all the time and, shooting videos for you guys. And so my ability to have that defined throat and that ability to express with the motor and the energy that comes from an engine in the chart is really great for me, for my expression. So you can kind of see what's true for you. What is getting lit up that's different? Are these channels all open for you, or is half of them lit up but not the other half? off, in which case you'll get the whole channel lit up and you might get a new center defined. What is it for you? And as you track these, it really kind of helps you tune in to the qualities of the human design system, because sometimes it'll be really noticeable for you. You'll be like, wow, all of a sudden, like I have an open emotional solar plexus, right? And the emotional solar plexus is lit up right now. So that means I'm experiencing like having a defined emotional solar plexus. What's that like? I have consistent access to my creative energy, right? And that'll be true for you too if you have an open emotional solar plexus and then it's defined here. So these are just some fun things to be doing and looking at how are these in particular influencing you? How are they giving you more energy? How are they giving you different kinds of guidance than what you usually have? Are they bridging splits for you? Are they creating a new definition beyond just the gate? It's a really fun game to play with human design. So those are all fun things for you to do with looking at what's happening with the transits and applying it to your own human design chart. I think this is one of the biggest benefits, because then you get to really see how these different energies shift and change, and how you get more energy sometimes, and maybe, challenging energy sometimes as well. So that it's really a worthwhile thing, as well as being fun. And now let's take a look at some of the big things that are happening. So the biggest news that we have right now is Uranus. Like I said, I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Uranus is going to be changing signs and is going to be changing gates. So Uranus is going to be moving finally out of Taurus into Gemini on the 7th of July. And then it's going to move from the gate 8 to the gate 20 on the 10th of July. So let's talk about the astrology of this for a moment, because Uranus has been at the very end of Taurus in this gate 8. But at the very end of Taurus, which is known as the anorectic degree, and it's kind of, some people think of it as a crisis degree. Some people think of it as a transformational degree. In any event, we've been getting a lot of Uranus type of energy happening here, which is why we're getting so many volcanoes, for example, and earthquakes. Because if you think of the god of awakening, electrical, sudden change, disruptive energy on the most earth of the earth signs, Taurus, right? Just kind of boom, boom, boom. So I think we're going to get a little bit of a relief of that kind of energy when Uranus moves into Gemini. But we're going into the mental state when we go into Gemini. Gemini is electrical, a lot of mental activity, a lot of, busyness, a lot of, and also we know Gemini, right? It's kind of like, well, there's this and then there's that. And then there's that, and then there's this, and then don't forget about this, and what about that, right? So there's a lot of kind of like duality that Gemini can have for sure. And Gemini is a little bit of a, shapeshifter, a little bit of a magician, can move from these different, this side and that side. And yeah, you see me like this, but do you see me like that? Gemini's kind of like that. So we're going to have Uranus there, right? And so this is going to bring a lot more energy to that kind of mental activity. It could be buzzy, it could be overwhelming, and it could be affecting our different communication technology, because this is, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So there's a lot of things that can go on there, just from an astrological point of view, and all of the astrologers are talking about it. So there's a lot of information if you want to get that from them. But then from the human design point of view, both the gate 8 and the gate 20 are in they're both on the throat. And they're both in the knowing circuit. And so this is evolutionary energy. As I mentioned before, the 8 is about contribution and fulfillment. Is the contributions you're making out into the world bringing you a deep sense of fulfillment? And if it's not, ask Uranus and then Venus at the end of the month and the very beginning of July, to be like, hey, I want to get more aligned with my values and I want to have deep, fulfilling contribution. But then it's going to move into the gate 20. So the gate 20 up here on the throat, and it's an interesting energy, the 20, because it's known as metamorphosis in traditional human design. It's known as patience in quantum human design. And it's really about being able to wait for the right time, being discerning, making sure that everything's in alignment before we act. making sure everything's all set up. This is really coming from the I Ching of it. And so it also, for those of you who have that 3420 channel, which is the channel of the manifesting generator, also known as the channel of charisma, a lot of manifesting generators have this, is it helps slow down that really powerful energy of the 34 so that you can manage so much power in that 3420. Now, for me, the going into the 20 is actually going to give me that channel of the 3420. I have the 34 already, but I don't have the 20. So again, this is how the transits are going to influence me. Uranus is going to be in that 20 for a while. So I'm going to have actually two different channels that are giving me manifesting energy to my throat. So for good old Ostara here with the open throat, it's got a lot of extra manifesting, expressing, and activating power coming into my throat. So just take a look at this with Uranus and being like, okay, so how is this influencing my chart, right? If you have any of the gates that meet with the 20, which are the 10, the 34, and the 57, there's 3 different gates. Usually there's just one, but for this one, there's 3 different. It's really complex wiring over here on this part of the body, and it's part of the integration circuit. So as well as the knowing circuit, it actually belongs to 2 different circuits. So just know that there's a lot going on here, and this could be activating different parts of your chart for you. And then thinking about Uranus, right? And going like, okay, how is Uranus, this god of awakening, going to help me to understand right timing better? Like for me to know, when is it really good for me to do this or not? And if you're one of those people who tends to hold yourself back, being like, I don't know, is it the right time? It's never the right time. I don't know. I don't want to make a mistake. Uranus might just come in here and go, boom, do it now. Just get going. So you can watch out for that for yourself, right? But it's really also just lighting up this energy of the throat and that ability like to express, to manifest, to create, to activate. And so that's something that Uranus can also be breaking up different ways that you've held yourself back in the past and allowing that energy to come through more. And it is in Gemini, right? So it is going to be, it's like mental communication, because it's ruled by Mercury, like I said, which is all about communication. And so you might have a breakthrough, especially since it's on the throat, or have a real breakthrough for yourself around your communication. So pay attention to that. And Neptune and Saturn are in Aries. We've talked about this quite a bit. This was a big piece of news, right? It was when Neptune and Saturn moved, one and then the other into Aries right at the very beginning of Aries. And they've just been kind of hanging out there. They're in the gate 25, which is the gate of the love of spirit, which is individual circuitry. It's in the centering circuit. And it's a beautiful energy. It's on the G center, so it's about love and lovability, but it's also about identity. Like, what is our relationship to spirit, right? Are we hooked in? And also our direction in life. And so I really feel like our connection with spirit is what gives us our direction in life, really helps us understand that. And when we're doing it way too much out of our heads, right, we often make mistakes. We often, kind of pursue things that run into dead ends, or we end up not being that happy with. So this is really great to be having these two gods here lighting up this gate of the love of spirit and inviting you to be dissolving away anything that's in your way of being able to connect with spirit, whether that's religious programming that you had, whether it's agnostic or atheist programming that you had, whether it's scientific programming that you had, right? Just dissolving any of those things that are constructs that have gotten in the way of you really connecting with your spirit aspect, which of course is your birthright, right? Because you are spirit. It's not like you have to go find spirit. You just need to open up to really feel it. So like I said, they've been hanging out here right at the very beginning of Aries, and then they're going to go retrograde. So Saturn's going to go retrograde on July 13th and Neptune on the 14th, on the 4th. So it's just going to be one then the other. So they're going to stay in that 25 for a while. And Neptune's actually going to stay in the 25 during its whole retrograde period until it turns around at the beginning of next year and it goes forward again. Saturn is not. Saturn is going to change. It's going to go back back into I think it's the 35, and it's going to be there for a while during its retrograde period. Then it's going to turn around, come back forward, and then at the beginning of next year in February, the end of February, I think it's the 26th, they're going to be exactly conjunct right at the 0 degrees of Aries, and that's a big deal, right? That's kind of like, boom, the beginning of the new era. So just know that these planets are now going retrograde, and what happens, especially right when planets are going retrograde, right, is they slow way down, and then they station, right? They hang out there for a little while, and when they station, the intensity of them gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and then they turn around and they go back the other way. But during this period where they're slowing down and coming in, and then turning around and going back, they get extra strong. So this first couple of weeks of July, the both Saturn and Neptune are going to get even stronger because they've just been hanging out here, and they're slowing way down, getting ready to go retrograde, right? And they're going to station. Just remember, like I said, Neptune can help you to be releasing and dissolving things that are in the way of you connecting with your spirit aspect, and Saturn can be giving you support for creating a spiritual practice, helping to stimulate your personal discipline in a positive way, so that you can be building that ability to be connecting with spirit. And so both of those are going to be happening, and both of them are more emphasized. And since we are slowing down and then we're going to go retrograde, it's also about going back through those things, right? Because retrogrades are about reflection and review, taking another look at where we've already been. And so you get to take a look at what are the things that have been in the way of your ability to have a spiritual practice, to connect with your spirit self, that is really empowering for you, right? And if we just also think about Aries is all about that as well. Aries is like the beginning of the zodiac. This is the very first degree, starting a whole new cycle. And so Aries is all about sovereignty. It's personal sovereignty. And what is more about sovereignty than your connection with spirit? Because this is where our sovereignty comes from, is when we really connect with our spirit. So do go ahead and make the best use of this, what's happening with Saturn and Neptune over the course of the next few months. Then also going retrograde this month is Mercury, which is usually the planet that we hear about most going retrograde. Pluto is still retrograde. Pluto's been retrograde, and it's going to be retrograde for a while. It's going to eventually retrograde back in the gate 60, but still in Aquarius. Is not going to go back farther than that for now, but it's going to go back into the gate 60. But anyway, that's Pluto's journey. But Mercury here is going to go retrograde on the 18th of July and through the 11th of August. So you might want to just take note of that. But one of the things that's interesting is Mercury again is lighting up that the throat center, or pointing to the throat center, because the 31 and the 7, which Mercury is going to both go through, is creating that channel. But then the 33 is a storytelling energy. So that's going to be extra strong, right? Because Mercury is all about communication, right? It's about being able to express and communicate. And then when we have Mercury lighting up gates on the throat, right, which is all about communication and expression and activation and manifestation, Mercury is going to come in and really activate that. And then Mercury rules Gemini, so Mercury is really active right now with what's going on in Gemini, with Uranus moving into Gemini. So Mercury's got a big role here and is really going to be helping to facilitate our ability to express our leadership, the gate 31, and to be able to be doing storytelling, and also to be moving more into collaboration, which is what the gate 7 is all about. Then we have the full moon in Capricorn is coming up on July 10th. I'll do a separate video on this, so I'm just going to alert you to it here, and go ahead and take a screenshot if you want of the transit. And it's in the gate 54. And the gate 54 is known as ambition or drive in traditional human design, or divine inspiration in quantum human design. So you can go ahead and take a look at what's happening with the gate 54. And then you'll also see that this this right brain energy is lit up here through that 4764. So you can look to see there. And if it is open on you, and most people, almost everybody has an open head because there's only 3 gates there, right? And then most people also have an open ajna. And it has, 3 and 3. So more of those are defined, but the head is really hard. But for all of us during this transit, we're going to have access to that right-brained, creative, experiential, expansive, embodied energy that comes in through that right brain. So go ahead and take advantage of that. During this full moon, it's a really great time for you just to be doing some journaling for yourself about what's coming in through that sensing circuit, through the creativity that is also part of your birthright. But then also to see, so it's interesting because the moon in human design is what drives us. And then the 54 is the gate of drive or ambition. And this is actually right on top of my natal moon because my moon is in the gate 54. So, and in Capricorn. So I will talk about that a little bit more in the next video that has to do with this particular moon. Then we have the new moon that's coming up on the 24th of July. And this is going to fall into the gate 31 in human design. 31 is on it's on the throat center. And this is where we're going to get that particular definition coming in through the 31-7. It's going to define the throat. And it's going to define the G center. We still have that 1222 you see over here that is here as well. That's bringing motor energy to the throat. So this is making us all either manifestors or manifesting generators. And then this is really, it's called the channel of the alpha. In traditional human design, it's a really strong leadership gate. So we'll be diving into that more when we get later in the month. I'll do a separate video on that one. Then we have Jupiter, who just moved into Cancer at the, in June, and has been really expanding this loving, healing energy that Cancer has, and was in the gate 15, which was the gate of compassion for a long time, and then just recently moved into the gate 52, which is known as the gate of stillness or perspective. So it's really about being able to come into that center column, right? And that still point inside of the heart center, coming into that stillness so that we can get the perspective of the cosmos that we can get through coming through the heart center. And so this is a really, again, we've got a lot of emphasis on our spiritual practice, our ability to be able to create and access cosmic energy when we get still enough to really be able to feel it. And then later on in the month, it's going to move into the gate 39, which is the gate of provocation. Oh, I have this defined in my chart. It's on the root. And it's known as provocation or recalibration. And it's, it's a little bit of a challenging energy. I mean, it absolutely can be harnessed and utilized in a way that is good for all of us, right? I mean, I've had to learn how to work with it a lot because provocation can be really beneficial when we're trying to break up patterns, when we're just kind of going, wow, I just keep doing this thing, right? I don't really want to do this thing, but I keep doing this thing, right? And provocation can kind of go in and, well, let's just, why are you doing that? Come on, let's go deeper. Let's break it up, right? And so we want to get you recalibrated to what is the deeper truth for you. So it helps to break up patterns, helps to be able to see patterns, and particularly patterns around money, abundance, resources, having the faith that we need. The gate of faith is the mate of the gate of provocation. It's having the faith that we will have what we need when we need to have it. And so that's what the gate 55, that's the mate of the 39, brings. So yes, we're going to have Jupiter expanding the gate of provocation for a while because he's in there for a bit, like about a month. And so we want to be watching out for this. I'll bring this up again when I do another video later in the month, but you might want to just make a note for yourself. When Jupiter moves into that gate 39 for about a month, just to be looking at how can you utilize this powerful energy for breaking up patterns, starting with yourself, right? Creating your own breakthroughs, looking at the places where you're not truly truly aligned, and breaking through that, opening up perspective so that you can come into a deeper state of trust. And then right around that same time that Jupiter's moving, the sun is going to move into Leo. So we're going to move into the sign of the king, the king of the zodiac, the king of the forest, and ruled by the sun, right? So this really powerful sun energy that'll be coming in when the sun moves into Leo on the 23rd, and we'll be there for the month. So we'll be doing more of a deeper dive into what's going on in separate videos, but this is your overview for the month of July. And I just again want to remind you, even if you've already got your human design chart, go and get your mandala. Here's the images of what the two charts will look like when you get them, and so you can go ahead, check them out, download them for free, and get your mandala in particular and print it out, get it laminated if you want to. Just put it somewhere where you can see it and just see how you relate to it. It might surprise you what you get from it. And since this is a time when we're all really practicing our intuition, our creativity, which is the antidote to what's going on in the insanity of the outer world, is finding that real power that resides inside of you and utilizing that. And human design is going to help you do that. All right, my friends, that is your report for this month. Do check out the free resources down in the description, and I'll see you in a new video coming very soon. Many blessings. Much love. Bye for now.